Today's My Thoughts Monday is brought to you by GymAware, the leading tool when measuring performance in the weight room. Guys, VBT is all the craze right now. It's a hot, sexy topic, although it's something that's been around for a while. And the man who wrote the book on velocity-based training, Brian Mann, has called the GymAware the Rolls Royce when it comes to velocity measuring devices. Guys, the ability for you to shoot all your information right up into the cloud and store it right away is enough for me right there to make sure that this is something that I had in my weight room. Putting things together with instant feedback as to how the reps are being performed. On top of that, with the x-axis correction, so you don't have to necessarily worry about direct positioning when you're performing the exercises. Tying that in with the visualization of everything and the ability to allow the athletes to compete, make this an absolutely stellar tool and something I couldn't recommend you having in your weight room enough. Hop on over to kinetic.com.au today and see everything that they have to offer. Hey everybody, if you enjoy the podcast and the content it provides, be sure to hop over and check out the community. The community is an exclusive members website that is just an extension of what we do here in July at the Central Virginia Sport Performance Seminar. What it is a combination of video lectures, a coach's corner with your Monday morning take-home information, and a forum where you can talk about anything and everything related to the field of strength and conditioning. In the community, you'll find content added each month from some of the top practitioners in the world, ranging from PhDs to high-level coaches, bringing you exactly what they're doing with their athletes or their research at the present moment. On top of that, an additional discussion by coaches bringing you that Monday morning information, things that you can add to your training program right away. Tying that in with the opportunity to discuss with coaches around the world in the forum on anything and everything from the topics addressed in these presentations to whatever you're seeing in your daily life as a coach. If this sounds like the right thing for you and your staff, go ahead and hop over to cvasps.com/community and try it out for 48 hours for just $1. If you like it, you're signed up, ready to roll, and you're jumping into all the great content added each month. If not, feel free to go ahead and cancel at any time. No questions asked. We're really excited about what we're building in the community and hope you are too. Go ahead and hop over to cvasps.com/community and check it out today. Hey, what's up everybody? DeMayo coming at you with this week's edition of My Thoughts Monday. And today we're going to follow up off of last week's. The discussion, if you missed it, was about how we used our Team 2 system from Polar, and we were using readings and information we were taking from practice and using it to impact things outside of practice and off the court. Today I'll talk a little bit to piggyback off that because people asked for it, how we were looking at readiness and what we were doing with that and how we were breaking it down. How that all worked was, first and foremost, monitoring readiness in a team environment can be a challenge. And I think that that's one of the things that scares people away. But what I think we did, I thought we had a pretty good system. So what we did with the guys is we had breakfast every day. And we talked about that last week. Like, we used that whole idea of tracking calories through practice and then providing for them at breakfast and with the other things we were giving them. So having them all at breakfast made it very easy, simple, and consistent for them to get these readings done. So what I did is I brought the units over to the dining hall where we had like a banquet room, I guess you would call it, where we had breakfast every morning. The guys would show up, they would put the things on, and then they would run their reading. Once they did that, information up in the cloud, I'd pull it, put it in an Excel sheet, and then we would just look at a few numbers that went through an if statement. So it was all basically, once we put the numbers in, which didn't take very long at all, it was all automated to give us what we wanted to do. And the things that we looked at, first and foremost, was resting heart rate. That needed to be below 60 because that just tells you a lot, general fitness-wise, in their functioning state. of the athlete when their resting heart rate is elevated. We really don't need to get into all that. We looked at the HRV score that Omega Wave provides. We looked at omegatry, which I think is the most important number that you get from Omega Wave, and the one that we really look at the most now. And what we did with those numbers is we set an if statement that was, 3 layers deep. So, for example, if your omegatry was over a certain number, you would score 3 points. If it was between X and Y, you would score 2. If it was below 0, you would score 1. And then all these were taken together. Those 3 numbers were averaged out, and what it provided us was a score between 1 and 3. Anything greater than 2, we would just go. Like, that was a day we were going to train. We were going to get after it. We were going to keep moving. Anything 2 to 1 was a day that we were going to talk to the guys and feel it out and back some things down. And then anything that averaged a 1 or lower, we would pretty much just turn it into low-end cardio and just basically send them home after they did some recovery stuff. We did some specific things on top of that, as I've written and talked about in the past also, when it came to readiness monitoring, when we're looking at recovery means, and most of that was through HRV. Omegatry, we did some things like some earthing, stuff with that, and some low-level box jumps to help correct, if that's the term, their state of readiness. We did really well with it, I thought. I thought that we had really, really good training results with it. I think part of the reason why we had really good training results with it is because it was simply a way for us to make alterations daily, to make sure we were providing a more adequate and appropriate dose of stress to the kids. And it was just simple, like daily organized periodization. It wasn't anything crazy. The things that we did well with it as well is it led to a lot of discussions with the guys about how they felt, what they saw, where they felt we were going, what their thoughts were on the day. Because another thing that, at times when we look at those readings, we think that, just because they're able to adapt to all the stressors, that means that they feel good too. And there would be some days where, if a guy had a really big session the day before or 2 days before, they might be a little dinged up. So we made some changes also on top of that based on the conversations. Where I screwed that up is because of some fear that we had with communicating and how we communicated with the student athletes why we were making the changes. We didn't. So we didn't talk to them as much as we should have. We didn't communicate as much as we should have. We didn't provide them adequate information to understand the whats and whys of what we were doing and how this was going to help them in the long run. And that ended up turning into some things that kind of became standoffish, and that's 100% my fault. You would think that when the kids are constantly seeing performance improvements, that they're just going to go along with the program. But that's not necessarily the case all the time. And my ignorance in that situation was that I felt like that was enough for them, and it wasn't, and that's what caused the problem. So looking back, that's one of the big things that we've changed with, the readiness readings that we do, is it's led to more, this is what we're looking at here, and I want to talk to you about this because I want to make sure that if this is what it is, that we're not, compounding a problem, or that this really is just a blip on the radar, or letting them know that if this stays this way, then we'll probably have to change X, Y, or Z. And it's also been why I think we've been able to have more success with it, talking about minor adaptations to extra training and discussing nutritional strategies that your body is looking at to have, to impact that student athlete in a more positive sense. We've had a lot of really good success with that, and all of that is in a couple of the lectures that we have in the community site, so I don't want to give that all away, but basically it's just looking at what your stress response is right now and figuring out, or making the assumptions that sympathetic versus parasympathetic, your body is hungry or craving for specific micronutrients, and then also like the functioning state of your central nervous system, and understanding what the brain is made of and what its fuel source is, to provide it with just simple things that we have actually been lucky and have seen that a lot of those decisions have helped drive things forward. And the fact that we're using it with the extra workouts has helped as well, because if we have guys that are coming in to do extra stuff, how I've sold it to them is we're going to do the readings so that we just make sure that we're able to handle what we're being given, so that all this extra stuff isn't going to be what breaks us down. And, as Keir says, we don't want to burn the cake in July if we want to eat it in February. So we make sure that they understand that we're trying to get better, we're trying to push them, we're trying to move forward, but we're also not trying to run them through the floor, or just have them work to work and break them down, because at this point it's July. The only thing we can do is ruin the season, right? So we want to make sure that if we do have goals and we do have things that we're progressing towards them, and we're not hamstringing the rest of the season, no pun intended, to take things away and to put them behind the 8 ball later. So that's how we've handled it, guys, the readiness aspect of it. Hope this helps. Hope you can take something from it. Hope it just starts another conversation. And as always, guys, thank you for everything you do for us here at Central Virginia Sport Performance. We'll be back next week with another My Thoughts Monday. We'll see you then.